Today we will discuss about the participatory irrigation management and legal registration of WUAs, that is Water Users Associations. What is participatory irrigation management? The participation of farmers in the management of irrigation would promote responsibility for operation and maintenance and collection of water charges from the areas under the jurisdiction of water users associations. Water users associations are defined by the jurisdiction of a defined command area. The farmers participating in the irrigation management system are responsible for operation and maintenance of the irrigation system as well as collection of water charges from the water users or water users members of the water users association. The main objectives of PIM are to create a sense of ownership of water resources and the irrigation system among the users so as to promote economy in water use and preservation of the system, to have the better efficiency of the irrigation system and also the use of water, and to preserve the system. PIM creates the sense of ownership among the members of the WAs or the water users, to improve service deliveries through better operation and maintenance. So, the objective is to improve the services through better operation and maintenance, to achieve optimum utilization of available resources through sophisticated deliveries precisely and per crop needs. It is also aimed to achieve optimum utilization of the available resource using the sophisticated deliveries and precisely as per the crop needs. We have to be more scientific in applying the water as per the crop requirements. We are supposed to manage the available water resource for the optimum utilization, to achieve equity in water distribution, to have a social equity in the distribution of water. To increase production per unit of water where water is scarce, and to increase production per unit of land where water is adequate. So wherever the water availability is less or it is not able to meet the demand, we call it as the state of scarcity. There we are supposed to practice the irrigation system where we are supposed to increase the production per unit of water. So using the quantity of water available, we are supposed to increase the production, and wherever the water is available adequately, there we are supposed to increase the production per unit of land. That means we have got water in the required quantity and we are supposed to increase the production per unit of land. To make best use of natural precipitation and groundwater in conjunction with flow irrigation for increasing irrigation and cropping intensity. Also, we are supposed to use the natural precipitation during the rainy periods and groundwater in conjunction with the flow irrigation. Along with the surface water, we are to use efficiently the natural precipitation whenever it is available, and also groundwater in conjunction with the flow irrigation, to increase the intensity of the irrigation and cropping and the cropping pattern. To facilitate the users to have a choice of crops, cropping sequence, timing of water supply, period of supply, and also frequency of supply, depending on soils, climate, and other infrastructure facilities available in the commands such as roads, markets, cold storages, so as to maximize the income side returns. Also, the aim of the objective of the PIMR to facilitate the users to have the choices for the cropping or cropping patterns, timing of the water supply, period of supply, and the frequency of supply, depending on the soils, climate, and other infrastructure, depending on the soil characteristics, the climate, and the infrastructures available in that particular command area. The PIM aims to have the users to have or the farmers to have choice of crops, cropping sequence, timing of water supply, period of supply frequency, etc. And also to create the infrastructure facilities such as roads, markets, cold storages so as to maximize the income and returns. To encourage collective and community responsibility on the farmers to collect water charges and payment to irrigation agency. So PIM also aims at to encourage the users to have a collective and a community responsibility for collecting the revenues or the water charges, to create healthy atmosphere between the irrigation agency personnel and the users. Necessity of participatory irrigation management. Since farmers are the real stakeholders, they have to come forward to actively participate in the management of the irrigation system. Since the beneficiaries are the farmers, they are supposed to come forward to actively participate in the irrigation management system. O&M cost of the irrigation system is much higher than the recoverable irrigation charges as per present rates in almost all the states. The necessity of involvement of the farmers is required because we are unable to meet the O&M cost, the rising O&M cost, because we are not able to recover the irrigation charges as per the present rates. Even these low rates are not being recovered in full. So even the rates are not high, we are unable to collect that also. Often the cost of recovery of water charges by government is more than the amount recovered. Not only that, sometimes we are unable to meet the charges which are involved in the recovery because the recovery or the collection is so low that we are not able to meet the collection charges itself. This is causing severe budget constraints to government and consequently O&M could not be properly carried out, resulting in system deficiency and unreliability of irrigation water to farmers. Because of we are not able to meet the O&M cost, government is also not able to make the budgetary allocations for O&M operations where which is resulting or which is affecting into system deficiency. That means there are some deficiencies in the irrigation system or the irrigation infrastructure which are we are not able to maintain because of lack of the funds and causing the farmers to have unreliability of irrigation water supply. The Water Users Association could play this role in a better way. So the water users associations can play a better role in this management system. Provisions in the Participatory Irrigation Management Acts recognizing the need of sound legal framework for PIM in the country, the ministry brought out a model act to be adopted by the state legislatures for enacting new irrigation acts, amending the existing irrigation acts for facilitating PIM. We knew to have the participatory management. The union government has brought out a legal framework which has to be adopted throughout the country. So it has brought out a model or a guiding act which are supposed to be adopted by all the state legislatures for enacting the irrigation and management acts. The legal framework provides for creation of farmers organization at different levels of irrigation system as below. The legal framework makes a provision for creating the farmers organization at different levels. Water Users Association will have a delineated command area on a hydrological basis, which shall be administratively viable. Generally, a WA would cover a group of outlets or a minor. Water, the Water Users Association can be defined by, or it can be delineated by, the jurisdiction of a certain command area, which is based on the hydraulic calculations, that is the carrying capacity of the miners or laterals and the outlets. Generally, a WA could cover a group of outlets on a miner. Usually or generally, the principle adopted is for formation of a WU, the area covered is by a miner under group of outlets. Outlets means which carry the water to the fields. Distributory committee will comprise of 5 or more WAs. All the presidents of WAs will comprise general body of the distributory committee. So once number of water use associations are formed, there are distributory committees which will comprise 5 or more water users association, and all the president of these associations will comprise a general body for the distribution committee. Project committee will be an apex committee of an irrigation system, and presidents of the distributory committees in the project area shall constitute general body of this committee. Depending on the command areas of the entire project, then there will be an apex committee of an irrigation system, and president of all the distributory committees will be representing this body. The associations at different levels are expected to be actively involved in maintenance of irrigation system in their area of operation. The associations at different levels are expected to involve in the activities like maintenance of irrigation system in their area of operation, distribution of irrigation water to the beneficiary farmers as per Warabandi schedule, as per the defined schedule, which is also called as a Warabandi. The associations are supposed to distribute water to the beneficiaries, assisting the irrigation department in the preparation of water demand and collection of water charges, resolve dispute among the members of the WA, monitoring flow of water in the irrigation system, etc. Constraint in implementation of PIM. There are a number of constraints in making the PIM sustainable in long run. Some of these are, there are some issues also in the implementation of the PIM. They are lack of legal backup and policy changes. In many states, there is no or very little legal backup and lack of policy decision at government level to take up PIM, which is a big impediment in implementation of PIM. So the lack of the proper backup and the policy changes at the government level are the impediments, are they are the hurdles in implementing the PIM. System deficiency. In older projects, there are many problems like deterioration of old control and measuring structures, leakages and seepages at various places, erosion of banks and beds, siltation and weed infestation. These are serious problems hindering farmers to take over the system management on technical and financial consideration. When we are supposed to transfer the irrigation management to water use association, that means that, or it is an understanding that the infrastructure which are in good condition are supposed to be handed over for the maintenance, but unfortunately the existing infrastructure is old one which has been deteriorated, and there are problems like deterioration of measuring structures, leakages and seepages at various places of the distribution, erosion of the bank and beds, siltation and weed growth, etc. Because of this poor infrastructure, the farmers will not be able to draw the water properly for the irrigation. These are serious problems hindering the farmers to take over system management on technical and financial consideration. That is why the WAs are hesitating to take over the management system. To management system which is to be operated through WES. Already now the Command Area Development Authority has taken up some system deficiency correction works by the CADA as well as the irrigation department in Karnataka. Uncertainty of water availability. This is another important aspect as farmers will understandably be reluctant to take on responsibility for management for managing the system unless deliveries of water are made reliable, flexible, practical and responsive to need. As already mentioned, because of the system deficiency and some other reasons, we are not able to provide the realistic quantity of water which is to be supplied at the defined points to the WUS. The engineers on their part may not be confident about ensuring supply of the requisite quantity of water to the WS as would be obligatory in terms of MOU signed between irrigation agency and WO. This has led to the violation of the agreement between the WS and the irrigation agency because the irrigation agency is not able to supply the required quantity of water at the defined outlets or the defined points of the distribution system. Further, the farmers who have their holdings at the head of the canal tend to appropriate more water than required, whereas the farmers at the tail end often fail to get their apportioned share of water. Sometimes, even though there are WS, the farmers who are having their property at the upstream side or near to the outlets are getting more water, whereas the tailenders are not able to get their share or their designated share of water. Headenders therefore have a vested interest in continuing the existing arrangements. That is why the farmers who are at the head end or who are at the upstream side are not interested in the systems which are to be engaged by the WES. Hence, they are reluctant to join such associations. The tail enders may not be keen to form WES as the water supply in such areas remains inadequate and erratic, and they remain apprehensive that the situation will not materially altered if an association is formed. The head enders are not interested to join the WS because of their vested interest. But when we come to the tail end, because the tail end farmers are not getting sufficient water and they have in their mind that even though we join the WS, we will not be able to get the better quantity of water and the system remains same as it was earlier. Hence, they are also reluctant to form the associations. These differences in perception and conflicts of interest inhibit the coming together of head and tail end farmers. So this has created a gap or difference or the conflicts between the head and the tail end farmers. Fear of financial viability. Maintenance and operation of the system demands huge finances. Farmers have got the apprehension that in the absence of surety of finance, it would be difficult to them to fulfill the requirement of funds for operation and maintenance. They feel what when government is not able to handle the system with huge money available with them, how farmers would be able to do justice. There is also a fear in the mind of the water users association or the farmers that since government itself is not able to meet the O&M funds which are huge, then how the WAs will operate or how, because there is a problem of generating the revenues for them also. This is a fear of financial viability. Lack of technical knowledge. Apart from the financial uncertainty, lack of technical input is one of the limiting factors to take over the system because our farmers are also not skilled in the management system, or are using efficiently the water. Because of this lack of technical input, there is a difficulty in managing the system. Lack of leadership. On account of limited exposure of the farmers to the rest of the world, and PIM in particular, potent leadership is lacking, rather on account of limiting knowledge. At times, so-called local leaders give the negative or unclear vision before other farmers, which further create misunderstanding among the farmers, bringing them sometimes into a fix. There is also lack of leadership because our farmers are not exposed to the outside world. It is the leaders who are supposed to encourage them or motivate them for creating the associations. But since the negative visions put forward by the leaders, it is becoming more and more problematic to develop the WAs. Lack of publicity and training. Seeing is believing, and knowledge brings confidence in people. So, when you experience something or when you see, we get more knowledge and it brings confidence to the people. This aspect is lacking, and there is a constraint to adoption of PM. If there are some any successful cases in such irrigation management transfer systems, the farmer should be taken there for a study, and they should be shown the how successful it is been working. So the lack of such publicity and training is also a constraint for adopting the PIMs. Demographic diversity. Due to variation in economic, ethnic, education levels, etc., diversity of farmers, PIM is taking much time in the country. To handle this aspect, deep study, analysis, and solution need to be found. So there is also diversity in the demography. That means the people of different region are having different economic facilities, ethnic and education levels, and PM is taking much time in this country because of this diversity. To handle this aspect, deep study, analysis, and solution need to be found out. Mega irrigation projects. World scenario gives an indication that there are small projects in the countries of the world where irrigation project transfer has taken care for PIM. In India, there are huge projects having very large distribution system and cultivable command area, sometimes more than 20 lakh hectares. Larger the project, complex would be its maintenance, operation and management aspects, and so the formation and functioning of farmers association for different necessary activities. The world scenario is that wherever there are smaller projects or smaller infrastructures to handle, and such systems have been successfully transferred to the PIMs or to the water resource associations. But in India, we are having the large scale projects where the command area is almost more than 20 lakh hectares. In such cases, the infrastructure involved is very big, or it is on a very large scale with large scale distribution system. Larger the project, complexity would be its maintenance, operation, management aspects. So, as the projects are bigger in size or larger in size, then definitely there are the huge complexities in the maintaining maintenance and operation systems, and this is also causing and hindering for the participatory irrigation management or the involvement of the farmers in the management system. WAs versus panchayats. In many of the areas where WAs have been formed, there is a clash of interest among panchayats and WAs on who is to own the system, particularly when watershed schemes are being handed over to the panchayats. So there are conflicts between the existing panchayat system and the newly formed WAs because the clash of interest among them, that who has to handle the system, because particularly some of the systems which are completed are handed over to the panchayat for maintenance. In such cases, there will be some clashes which are to be resolved. So you have seen the need and issues of the WAs. Now we will discuss regarding the legal registration of WUAs. WUA could be seen to have been successfully established in the sense that following the relevant registration procedure, they required independent legal personality, a governing document, a membership, a bank account, and so forth. So when we say a WA is a form not established, it should have the relevant registration procedure, and these bodies should be given, or the body should acquire independent legal personality. They should be identified as an independent legal entity, and it should have a governing document, a membership, a bank account, and so forth. Legal problems arising from the use of existing organizational forms. There are some problems arising due to the existing organizational forms of the legal framework. Companies and cooperatives, for example, are business legal forms used to make profits for the participants. We have two registering bodies for the associations. One is the Company Act, other is the Cooperative Act. Companies and cooperatives are the business forms. The companies and cooperatives are especially established for the purpose of carrying out some business in the legal forms, used to make profits for the participants, and they are aimed to make some profits to the participants. How could this be reconciled with the idea that WAs are supposed to operate on a non-profit basis? Since the WAs are also registering under companies or the cooperative acts, then how the WAs are supposed to operate on a non-profit basis? The legislation typically permitted the establishment by only a handful of people of WA that might potentially have hundreds of members. The legislation typically permitted to establishment of WAs with the limited numbers, but there is a potentiality that it can have hundreds of members. Then a proper provision in the legal framework is to be made for this purpose. WAs could and indeed often were established largely on paper. In cases where this happened, those who had not participated in the establishment process understandably felt little sense of ownership over their WAs. In many cases, the establishments or the WAs are formed on only the papers, and there is no real involvement of the farmers. Since there is no involvement, there is no sense of ownership over their WA. For at the heart of each WA lies a contradiction. They are premised on the basis that farmers will cooperate while though some farmers are frequently in competition for scarce water resources. The main contradiction is in the formation or the definition of the WA itself, because it makes a provision for the farmers to cooperate with each other, but many times the cases arise that there is a competition between the farmers because the water is available in scarce quantity, or where there is the scarcity of the water resources, or in other terms, wherever we are not able to meet the demands, there will be a competition which contradicts the basic principle of the cooperation among the water users association members. Another frequent problem with the use of existing organizational forms was that changes made to the relevant legislation for other unrelated reasons frequently negatively impacted US. So there are some other organizational problems wherever some changes are made in the organizational framework or the legal framework related to, or which are not relevant to the management system, then they also have some negative impact on the WUAs. WUAs are premised on the basis that farmers will cooperate in their common self-interest. But what if farmers do not cooperate or pay fees and charges owed to the WA? If the members of a WA themselves violate the principles of cooperation as well as paying the fees and charges, etc., then that it is difficult to run the WAs, which are based on the cooperation principle. The legal framework for the establishment of WAs and for enabling them to cooperate and maintain such parts of the irrigation system consists basically of three sets of legal instruments, namely, if the WA has to be established and to work properly or to operate and maintain the irrigation system, then they should have three sets of legal instruments. They are the enabling law, the bylaws of the WA, the transfer agreement between the irrigation agency and the WA. So these three instruments are needed for the participatory irrigation management, that is the enabling law, the bylaws of the WA, and the transfer agreement between the irrigation agency and the WA. The enabling law, for a WA to be established as a legal entity, there has to be a law authorizing its establishment. So there is a need of law which authorizes the WA to be established or identified as a legal entity. This law could be a general comprehensive water law that deals with all aspects related to water, including establishment of WAs. So there should be a law which enables the aspects related to water, including the establishment of WA. Because of the absence of basic law specifically on water or WAs, the states of India have relied on different laws to establish WAs. Since there is the absence of such a basic law specifically on the water or the water use or water users association, we are relied on some different laws to establish the WAs or the associations. In the Indian states of Maharashtra, WAs have been established and registered as cooperative societies under the Cooperative Societies Act. On the other hand, in the state of Tamil Nadu and state of Odisha in India, WAs are established and registered as societies under Society Registration Act. Since we lack a legal framework specifically defined for water uses, the WAs in different states are established under different acts. In Maharashtra, they are under Cooperative Society Act. In Tamil Nadu and Odisha, they are under Societies Registration Act. Water according to the Constitution of India is a state matter. Accordingly, each state has issued or followed its own laws and regulations on water. As a result, different legal instruments have emerged. Since the Constitution says the water is a state matter and each state have followed their own laws and regulations to form the legal framework for establishing the WAs. National Water Policy urges that efforts should be made to involve farmers progressively in various aspects of management of irrigation system, particularly in water distribution and collection of water rates. Assistance of voluntary agencies should be enlisted in educating the farmers in efficient water use and water management. That is why the National Water Policy says that effort should be made to involve the farmers progressively in the management system, particularly in the water distribution system, and there should be some voluntary agencies which are to assist or to educate the farmers in efficient water use and water management. All societies, including WAs, established and registered in any state in India under the Cooperative Society Act or Society Registration Act, are legal entities capable of contracting, opening, and operating bank accounts and institutions and answering suits. So, in India, wherever or wherever the states the WAs are formed under Cooperative Society Act or the Society Registration Act, they have been identified as the legal entities capable of contracting, opening and operating bank accounts and instituting and answering suits. So they have been identified as the legal bodies with the capacity of contracting as well as opening and operating the bank accounts and participating in the legal suits. However, because of their nature, those two acts do not address WA related issues that are usually addressed in the water law or law establishing WAs. Because of some differences in the legal status of the acts which are governed under Society Act or the Cooperative Society Act, they do not address the water related problems appropriately. The bylaws of the WA, whether established under a separate law or under an umbrella enabling law, the WA is in most jurisdictions be required to prepare and agree on its bylaws before it can be registered as a legal entity and before it can be allowed to operate. The WAs which are interested to be get registered under the existing enabling laws may be under Societies Act or the Cooperative Society Act. They are supposed to have their own bylaw for that purpose. Those bylaws may be called regulations, constitution, charter, or article of associations. These bylaws are also known by the terms regulations, constitution, charter, or article of associations. Basic facts about and objectives of the WA. Basic facts about and objectives of the WA. WA. The basic facts would include the name of the WA, the law under which it is registered, and its registration number, its address, and a clear definition of the area that WA is serving or its area of operation. So when a WA gets registered, it should have the details about the WA as well as its objectives. The basic details or the facts it should have are under which act it has been registered, its registration number, the address of the association, clear definition of the area the WA is going to have as its operational area. This area of operation could be an entire irrigation district or an entire command of a distributary, minor, sub-minor, or a water course. It could also be defined by its size in areas of hectares. So the area of operation may be depending on the irrigation water management transfer agreement. It can be a irrigation district or an entire command covered under a distributary or a minor or a sub-minor or entire water course if it is small in nature or entire water course. It could also be defined in terms of the hectares of the command area or the size of the command area in terms of acres or hectares. Objectives would include participation in the management, operation, maintenance and upgrading of the irrigation infrastructure works that the WA has taken responsibility for collection of water charges and provision of irrigation and drainage services to the members of the WA. So the objectives include operation and maintenance and upgradation of the irrigation infrastructures and also the responsibility for collection of the water charges and to provide a better service in the area of irrigation and drainage. Criteria for becoming a member of the WA. Most of the bylaws restrict membership of the WA to the registered landowners in the hydraulic unit, which are engaged on a full-time basis in farming. If any member of the WA sells his land, his membership will be automatically cancelled and the new owner will be eligible for the membership of the WA. In the Indian state of Maharashtra, membership of the WA is extended to any owner, cultivator, permanent tenant, protected tenant in the area of operation of the society. So under the WA, who can become a member? So usually it is in practice that the registered member can be landowner in that particular defined area of operation or a hydraulic unit who are engaged in the full-time basis in farming, and they should be involved in full-time farming. If any member of the WA sells his land, if any member sells his land, then automatically his membership will be cancelled and the new owner will be eligible for the membership. In the Indian state of Maharashtra, membership of the WA is extended to any owner. There it is not only the legal owner, but there they have extended it to any owner or who cultivates the land or who is a permanent tenant or protected tenant in their area of operation. Number of farmers required for the establishment of WA. Most of the bylaws state that at least 51% of the registered landowners in the command area where the WA would be established should be enrolled as members before the WA can seek registration and before it can be allowed to operate. So if in a particular command area which is defined by the WA, then there will be some registered landowners. If the 51% of the landowners or the registered landowners participate in the WA registration process, then only it can be sought for registration. However, some bylaws allow the WA to seek registration based either on the number of farmers enrolled or the size of the land holding coming under its operation, regardless of the number of farmers enrolled. Sometimes some WA seek registration based on the number of farmers enrolled because there may be some big landholders having large area of the land ownership. In such cases, there will be number will be less, but they can be defined by a specified area of the command area. In such cases, there can be the bylaws can allow to register depending on the size of the land holdings. The WA as a legal entity, it is usually stated that the WA is authorized to enter into contracts in its name and that the WA can sue its own name and answer suits instituted against it. The WA can also be authorized to borrow funds from private sources using, if necessary, its assets as a collateral. WA has got a legal entity and it is stated that it has got an authority to enter into the contracts in its name and to participate in the legal activities or in the legal suits, etc. And it is also authorized to borrow the funds from the private sources if there is a need to borrow the money, and it can provide the assets of a WA as a collateral security to the lenders. Structural organization and internal management. The two most common ways of organizing WAs at the membership level are a general body of the WA, which would consist of all registered members who are current in the payment of their dues. So there must be some structural organization and the internal management for the association. The WA should have a body of the of its association which would consist of registered members who are current in the payment of their dues. So the members can only be registered if they have cleared their payments or they have paid their dues, and they can be registered as members. A general body, which could be called the General Assembly, which would consist of delegates directly elected to represent the different irrigation districts or sub-units within the hydraulic unit. There should be also a general body which would be called a General Assembly, and it should consist of the delegates directly elected to represent the different irrigation districts or sub-units within the hydraulic units in a particular command area. there will be again sub-units, and the representatives elected by such sub-units represents the General Assembly or the general body. The general body would usually meet once a year to elect the executive body, discuss and approve the budget, the annual program, and in some cases crop patterns and water rotation, and set the water charges structure, etc. The general body or the general assembly, which is represented by the sub units, then they will meet once in a year to discuss and approve the budgets, the annual programs, and in some cases crop patterns and water rotation, etc. And also to set the water charges structure, or they can fix the tariff for the water charges. Special meeting can be held at any time when deemed necessary by a majority of the executive body or at the request of a certain specified percentage of all the members of the general body. Sometimes special meetings can also be held depending on the necessity, or it is deemed to be necessary by the executive committee, or the certain specified percentage of the members are requested for it. Usually at least half the total of such members. Usually it should be 50% of the total memberships. The executive body is usually elected by the general body every specified number of years. The executive body is authorized to run the day-to-day affairs of the WA subject to control of the general body. The executive body, which is elected in the general body, is authorized to run the day-to-day activities of the WA, and it is subject to the control of the general body. The executive body would usually consist of a president, a vice president, a secretary, a treasurer, and other specified number of members, and those posts do not in many countries carry remuneration. Usually the office bearers are the executive body, which consists of president or a vice president, secretary, treasurer. In many countries they are not carry any remuneration. The executive body is also expected to make the necessary arrangements for training and educating members of the WA on water management, optimal and efficient use of water and cropping patterns, and to establish procedures for settling disputes among members of the WA. The executive body is expected for the arrangements of training and education to the members for the optimal and efficient use of the water, cropping patterns, etc. And also it has to set some procedures for settling the disputes or the conflicts among the members. Procedures for voting the executive body out of office through a vote of no confidence, including the majority needs for such a decision, would also be specified in the bylaws. The bylaw also makes procedures for the executive body to make the executive body out of office, or to bring a vote of no confidence. Operation and maintenance. One of the primary objectives of the WA is to operate and maintain the transferred irrigation and drainage system efficiently and economically, and with the full and active participation of the members. The primary objective of the association is to operate and maintain the irrigation infrastructure which has been transferred to that association for operation and maintenance. They have to operate it efficiently and economically, and with the full participation of the members. Operation would include receiving water in bulk from the irrigation agency at a prescribed rate at the head of a minor distributory, and distributing such water equitably and in timely manner as per procedure and criteria agreed with irrigation agency to all farmers in the hydraulic unit, whether members or non-members. The operation includes that the WA will receive the water in a bulk at a defined outlet point. It may be at a distributory or a minor or a lateral. Then they are supposed to distribute it equally to the beneficiaries or the members of the association, or sometimes they may be non-members also. The bylaws would also include the criteria for assessing water charges and operation and maintenance charges from both the members and the non-members. The bylaws will also would also make provision for the criteria for assessing the water charges and operation and maintenance charges from both the members and the non-members. The WEA would be authorized to enforce discipline in water use among the users and also resolve any disputes in sharing of water by the individual farmers under the outlet or group of farmers under the outlets of lateral minor distributary. The association would be authorized to enforce the discipline, or they are also authorized to use the enforcement measures among the users for resolving any disputes in sharing of the water. In addition, the WA may have responsibility in some cases for approving the cropping pattern and area to be irrigated for each crop within the area of operation of the WA. In some of the cases, the WA have got the responsibility also for approving the cropping pattern and the area to be irrigated for each crop within the area of operation of the WA. Water charges. Inclusion of provisions on water charges in bylaws would serve the purpose of establishing the payment obligation of each member of the WA, whereas the provisions in the transfer agreement would establish the payment obligation of the WA as a legal entity, vice versa the irrigation agency. So the bylaw also sets provisions for water charges, and it is the obligation that each member has to pay the water charges to the WA, and WA in turn has to pay the irrigation agency for getting the water. The national water policy in India states that water rate should be such that to convey the scarcity value of the resource to the users and to foster the motivation for economy in water use. They should be adequate to cover the annual maintenance and operation charges and part of the fixed the costs. The national water policy suggests that water should water rate should be fixed in such a way that they should convey the value of the scarce commodity of water resource and also to foster the motivation in the economy or in the efficiency of the water use. They should keep in mind two aspects of the water. One is the efficiency in using the scarce commodity of water resource, as well as they should also know that the since it is a scarce commodity, it has got a certain value. So depending on these two principles, the WAs are supposed to fix the water rates. It is guided by the NWP. They should be adequate to cover the annual maintenance and operation charges and a part of fixed costs. Effort should be made to reach this ideal over a period while ensuring the assured and timely supplies of irrigation water. So effort should be made to achieve this ideal ideal water rates while ensuring the assured and timely supplies of the irrigation water. The water rates for surface and groundwater should be rationalized with regard to the interest of small and marginal farmers. But sometimes we are also we have to keep in mind the interest of small and marginal farmers, and depending on their interest, the water rates are to be rationalized for both surface as well as groundwater use. In India, water charges are levied annually for surface schemes on a per hectare crop basis with different rates depending on crop and season. Generally higher rates for more water consuming crops and in seasons when irrigation water is more scarce. So in India, we levy the water rates for surface schemes and based on the unit per hectare crop basis and for different crops and different rates. And generally the rates are high for more water consuming crops and also during the seasons when there is a scarcity of irrigation water. Rights and obligation of members. Members shall have the rights to equitable share of water distributed and to be charged, though through established criteria for the water delivered. The members have got the right to have equitable share of the water distributed, and it is to be based on the crop grown, the size of the area to be irrigated, or sometimes both, and to be charged through established criteria. Have the right to attend all the meeting and to vote and run for office provided they are current on the payment of their dues and charges. If the members are not defaulters in paying their dues, then they can attend all the meetings and vote and run the office, and also in compliance with their obligations under the bylaws, and their integrity, including the absence of a criminal record, has been confirmed. And also there are some compliance which the members are supposed to follow, that they should have the integrity and also they should not have any criminal background. Interpreting and amending the bylaws. Provisions would usually be included in the bylaws themselves, describing the procedure for interpreting provisions of the bylaws in case there are different views as to what a certain provision may mean. So the bylaw also make provisions for interpreting some of the bylaw points, as well as to amend if necessary based on the necessity when it arises. Liquidation of a WA. The bylaws may include provisions for stipulating the number of years for which the WA would continue in existence without prejudice to the right of the members to extend or reduce its duration. The bylaw also makes provisions for stipulating the number of years for which WA will function without any prejudice to the right of the members to extend or to reduce this duration. The bylaws would also include provisions for liquidations of the WA if a proposal to this effect is approved by not less than a certain percentage, usually 66 to 75% of the registered members in a meeting of the general body. So the bylaw also makes provision for liquidating the association if there is a consensus by the members of nearly 62 to 75% of the registered members, and a decision can be taken in a general body meeting. Establishment of Federation of WAs. The bylaws include provisions of enabling the establishment of a federation or an apex committee encompassing registered WAs in one command area. So there is also provision for the formation of an apex committee, or it is also called the federation. Already we are having in our project area, there is a Federation of Water Users Association for Ghataprabha project, as well as there is a federation for Malaprabha project also. Those bylaws specify the responsibilities of the federation and the relationship between such federation and each of the affiliated member of the WAs. So the bylaws also make provision for the distinction between the responsibilities of the federation and their relationship between the different WAs. The federation would have an advisory, non-binding role over the member WAs and may be used to resolve any disputes among such member WAs or between WAs and the irrigation agency. The federation have got an advisory but a non-binding role over the members of the WAs, and it can also resolve the disputes between the different association or between WA, the association and the irrigation department. Gendered issues in WAs. Rules for membership in water groups are problematic as patriarchy and male dominance. And sometimes the water usage is also dominated by the male category. The concept of water user is deeply ingrained in Indian culture as the one who owns the land. Although women have legal rights to inherit the land owned, the practice is different. Even the woman is eligible to ownership of the land. Many times in practice it is that it is male dominated. Women, particularly landless, are not pursued as water users and therefore not pursued as eligible as members of water users association. Because of this practice, women who are landless or who do not own the land are not pursued as the water user and therefore in many cases they are not treated as members of water users association. This is an issue, a gender issue. Okay. Thank you.